Speed welcomes you to Las Vegas as Gander Mountain, We Live Outdoors, presents NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Final Practice. Tomorrow it's the Kobalt Tools 400 on Fox. The field is set, the track record broken by this man, Matt Kenseth. And we're ready for a great 400 miles of racing on a weekend that has been picture perfect. Hi everybody, welcome to Las Vegas with Darrell Walter, Larry McReynolds. I'm Mike Joy. We've been sitting here reading the morning paper. This is the front page of the Las Vegas Sun. Mike Smith, their editorial cartoonist, has written several books and does a weekly stock cartoon that's syndicated across the country. And the whole front page of this morning's paper is the career of the hometown heroes, the Busch brothers. The rest of the comics are inside. I'll pass them along as we get through this practice session. So, final tune-up, getting ready to race. What are we going to see?
I think probably, Larry, a lot of guys are down there that aren't driving Fords, trying to figure out what it is they have. And what they have apparently is something in the geometry of their cars that allows them to go through those whoop-de-doos a little bit smoother than everybody else. And what that means, folks, is geometry. When you go across a bump, the wheels want to move in and out, and that makes the car jukey and get all over the place. Apparently, they figured out a way to go through those bumps and keep everything nice and straight, and man, are they fast.
Well, they're fast for one lap, Larry. We're about to find out how they do on long runs like that.
Well, and I think that's huge here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And what's unique about the day, these guys only have one final practice, an hour and 15 minutes to figure it all out. You want to make these long runs. I think what we're going to see versus what we saw in qualifying is the groove is going to start moving up the racetrack. I think by the time this day is over, we get to the 400-miler tomorrow, there'll be a lot of them running right around the rim of the racetrack, which is out of the bumps as well.
Tell you what there, crew chief, you work on the tires and the wheels and the springs and the shocks. I'm going to work on the gas tank. We're going to need to be able to go a long way on the tank of fuel.
Yes, it could.
All right. Down to the garage and Dick Berggren.
Well, Matt Kenseth has busted the track record, Mike, and he is going to start on the pole in tomorrow's race in one of those very fast Fords. And Matt doesn't win a lot of poles. In fact, he hadn't won one in almost 2 years, but he's real good here at Las Vegas. He's won a couple of times. That was with the old configuration, but he sure has figured out to make that Ford go quickly, and one of his strategies is run above the bumps. They're going to be working on springs and shocks and the race package this entire practice session. Steve Burns.
Well, Dick, another one of those flying Fords is Carl Edwards in the 99. He did not mince words when he got crashed out last week at Phoenix. He was the pole sitter, said it was the best car, the fastest car by far in the race. Since that time, he's jumped off the Stratosphere Hotel. He's also flown with the Thunderbirds, and again, he's in the first two rows. Another advantage that these Fords have is that new FR9 motor. They're able to run more tape across the front of the nose, gives them more downforce.
Thanks, Steve. Very quickly, this young man, who you just saw portrayed in Mike Smith's cartoon, has the fastest lap of this session. Kyle Busch has had 3 different sponsors and paint jobs in 3 different weeks. Not sure how he knows which car to hop into because they've all been painted differently, but whichever one he gets into, it's fast.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's, even to carry that a little further, he's been in trucks. He's been in NS series. I mean, he's been in everything, and all of them are different.
And he's the fastest qualifier that does not have a blue oval on the hood. He's in that Toyota qualified 5th.
There's the bright yellow number 22 Pennzoil Dodge of Kurt Busch. Saw the captain here this morning, talked with him, Roger Penske, excited about the weekend and about their chances.
You see right there, he was going to start 22nd, first time that he's ever started outside the top 10. And talking to his crew chief, Steve Addington, said that Kurt probably puts more pressure on himself to try to win a race here than maybe even possibly at Daytona and Indianapolis. He truly wants to win a race, as his brother did a couple years ago at the home track, Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
Matt Kenseth is now quickest, Kyle Busch second, and this young man is third, Ryan Newman. And the Haas Automation Chevy.
Ryan was definitely one of the faster Chevrolets. We only had 2 Chevrolets qualify in the top 10. Ryan Newman's going to start 8th. Martin will start 10th. Fastest Hendrick driver.
David Rudiman is 5th quickest in this session. Carl Edwards is 4th. Rudiman's 2nd fastest Toyota to Kyle Busch.
I think Rudiman needs some of this product that's on his race car. He has gotten off to a really bad start, and he really needs to just kind of get his head up out of the dumps. He's really down about it, and I'd like to see David get a good run under his belt. David takes not doing well very, very hard.
I was going to say, he seems like a young fellow puts a lot of pressure on himself to do well.
Yep.
And Martin Truex, his teammate, right behind him on the speed chart by only a couple of thousandths.
Darrell, I want to follow up on something you said earlier in the show, and that's work on fuel mileage. And we know certainly that's something that the drivers and the teams will have to work on here. Something I don't know that we've talked a lot about. I did a little exploring this morning in the garage area, and I'm beginning to hear more and more about it. The new fuel that Sunoco is running. It was well documented, a little more horsepower, but you traded off by a little less fuel mileage. I go back to Phoenix last week. Drivers could not run as far as what we have seen there in the past, and I think we're going to see the same thing here. In the past, you could run about 52 to 56 laps. Some crew chiefs and engineers are telling me take about 5% off that.
Wow.
So it's going to take a couple of laps off of your fuel mileage.
Well, I'm going to have to work hard on that fuel tank. Burns, what are you doing? What you got going for him?
DW hanging around Kevin Harvick's race car right now. He's already in the garage. He says, you know what, this car is just a little squirmy. After a couple of laps, it starts to come around, starting 26th tomorrow.
Thanks, Steve. A look at Kevin Harvick ready to go to work here. Matt Kenseth, our pole sitter, has the fastest lap. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup Final Practice from Las Vegas is presented by Gander Mountain. Don't be that guy. Gear up at Gander Mountain. We live outdoors. It's a beautiful day to be outdoors here in Las Vegas. A few wispy clouds up above. The temperature is going to push through 70 degrees. It'll be a great day out here. And another one tomorrow. Trevor Mania continues to sweep the country. Let's take a ride with the newly minted 20-year-old champion of the Daytona 500.
Yeah, a little ride-along program here coming up off turn 2.
Just a little bit, getting into 1. 10-4, 968.
That's his crew chief, Donnie Wingo. 968 is his lap time. He's telling what the car is doing, getting into 1. He's in the middle of 3 and 4 here. Got to watch getting up off this corner. Car gets a little pushy loose right there. You can snap that thing back in around, touch that wall. You'll see guys go down on the apron here. That's perfectly legal. You are hauling the mail.
Wow.
Down into turn 1 here. That was a 201 enter turn 1. Folks, think about it. 201 miles an hour into a corner.
From behind you. 81.
Drivers like that. He continues to give him his lap times. That helps Trevor move around a little on the track. Maybe I can find a little quicker line. Maybe I go here. Maybe I get in a little easier. Maybe I get in a little harder. Good information you need during practice. Again, you see down into turn 1. Try to run above the bumps. They seem to be the worst right around the bottom of turns 1 and 2. Try to miss those and get a good lap.
And they need a little rebound, Darrell, in the information department. Watching the DVD of last week's race, I'm more convinced that Trevor's crash was not a means of his own doing, but rather a miscommunication as he tried to fit that car into a hole that hadn't opened up yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You see him come on to pit road there, and that's pretty difficult to do here, get down to pit road speed. But you're right, Mike. Seems like the spotter, of course, they were in a precarious position trying to see down that front straightaway, but the spotter might have given him a little bit better heads up there and kept him out of that, kept him out of trouble.
All right, as Trevor goes to the garage, so will we. Dick Berggren.
With Juan Pablo Montoya, the talk here at Las Vegas this race weekend has been all about the bumps in turns 1 and 2. What can you do as a driver to help your car get through there faster?
You know, it's pretty hard. The same for everybody. You know, the track is what it is. It actually has a lot of grip. You know, car's shape is pretty good. You know, I mean, the bumps are especially in the bottom. Higher run, they get a little better. That's why you saw so many people qualify high yesterday. So we'll see. I think we got a pretty good car.
Okay, very good. The mechanics are working on it, trying to get them through the bumps better. Steve?
And Dick, the update is on Jeff Gordon, the winner of last week's race. He says, I feel like I have to be careful with it on throttle. I need better turning, but we're not
That's a fine line, isn't it?
Well, it is. And of course, we know Jeff had an episode yesterday. The minute the track opened for practice, on throttle, car got loose off turn 4, spun it down the front stretch. Fortunately, didn't hit anything. I want to go back to something Steve Burns reported earlier on Kevin Harvick. That's another fine line. You have to have the car good for the long run. But Darrell, I think you can't give up a lot on the short run by buying that, because you know you might have a late race caution and you'll get just killed if you're only good after a number of laps on the car.
You got to have a compromise setup. It's got to restart good. It's got to take off pretty good, or else the leaders will get away from you. And by the time the car starts to come, as I always say, oh, it'll come to you. Great. I'm a half lap behind when it does. Now you're making up time on the leader, but guess what? Time to pit again. So, yeah, it's a compromise. You got to have both. It's got to be pretty good on the restart. Got to be pretty good on the long run.
We're going to have to do our Pizza Hut picks for tomorrow. And this is a hard place, especially after the qualifying result, to bet against Roush Racing, who has 14 wins here across NASCAR's top 3 series. Looking at Paul Menard there, who is 14th in this practice session. So is it Roush Racing and Jimmy Johnson and let everybody else take the field? What do you think?
I'm not sure. I'm going to ride with Big Mo. I just believe Jeff Gordon is going to come out of here, come into this race with a lot of momentum and a lot of confidence. I'm looking for him to repeat. Tell you the truth.
Guns blazing. Yep.
I wouldn't bet against Wild Thing. The man that can run 3 wide here by himself, Kyle Busch.
That's right. It's going to be interesting. Tomorrow it's the biggest pre-race show in NASCAR. Jimmy, Kurt, and Tony live. Relive Jeff's win in Phoenix. Rutledge and Brad go looking for fun in Sin City. You know, that could be a whole 2-hour show on its own. But it's NASCAR race day from Las Vegas tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern, live on Speed.
You know, I asked our statistician over Jimmy, I said, has anybody ever won a race from a pole here? Well, Kyle Busch did, but he really didn't, because he had to go to the rear of the field.
You know,
and I was thinking at the time when I asked, because I didn't think anybody had, but I guess you count that as a win from the pole, statistically speaking.
Ooh, look at those whoops Jimmy's describing.
Yeah, that's definitely the bumps.
That, or is that the roller coaster on the stratosphere? It's one of them.
That's serious stuff right there.
Landing hard.
Not landing good either.
No.
He's been out one time, ran 7 laps, and that's what he's describing to us.
And that rocking motion is what the car does when it goes through those bumps and lands. Kind of rocks over, rocks over, rocks over. Good information.
How about this young fella? Jeff Burton is a 2-time winner at Vegas. He won 2 in a row here for Roush Racing. Now, of course, with Richard Childress in the Cat Chevy.
He's going to start about mid-pack. He's going to start 21st tomorrow when they drop the green flag.
You know, as I'm fond of telling Slob, there's 3 kinds of information: lies, damn lies, and statistics. It's a famous quote. I didn't make that up. So, yes, he won from the pole, but he started in the back.
Yeah.
That's a first cousin to he timed it perfectly, just too soon.
Something like that.
Yeah, Bergie.
Allmendinger has climbed quite a mountain here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Mike. The first 2 times he came here wasn't even fast enough to make this show. But for tomorrow's race, he is going to start in the 7th position. By far his best qualifying effort at this speedway. The car is close. It's not that fast in terms of speeds with other cars right now, but in terms of the way it feels to the Dinger, he likes it a lot. They are making some minor changes on it. If this guy could be a factor tomorrow, who knows? Could be a first-time winner.
That could be another one of those fast forwards. David Reagan's, you know, after the heartbreak of the Daytona 500, when he did time that move perfectly just before the line. Here's what happened yesterday in qualifying after being 2nd fastest in practice.
He was really, really fast, but not at the right time. That was a problem. And he just got out a little wide coming off the 2 over there. The car looked like it probably went through the bumps, moved up a tad, got that right rear and that loose stuff, and around she went.
So he will start this race from the back, and you just so want this young Georgia driver to have a great finish and get the early season behind him and get on with it.
There. Clear. I kind of thought he was going to stay high there. 73.
We know that he has the talent. We know, and we've known he's had potential to do well for a couple of years, but he just can't seem to get a break. Every time he gets a little momentum going, it seems like something happens to him.
You know, we heard Montoya talk about how much grip this track has this morning, and I tend to see some support of that, because you heard him just call out a while ago a 29.73 on David Reagan. His fast lap was 29.53, and he's run a total of 14 laps, so we're not seeing a ton of give up over a run right now.
You know, some of it's kind of fascinating to me. Thinking back to Daytona and how fast the cars were running at Daytona, and it was something Mike Hilton said, that they were not that uncomfortable with the speeds there because of the grip level. Now, you would have thought he was talking about because the cars are handling good, but what he was talking about is when the cars would get out of control, that there was so much grip that it would slow the car down to a speed that they were comfortable with, that it wouldn't get airborne or do anything crazy.
That was very interesting. The cars would scrub speed very quickly.
Speed off.
And what you just saw from David Reagan's spin on a track that has had quite a bit of wear and seasoning, the cars slide a long time here. They don't scrub off speed quickly. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and so that is something I hadn't even considered at Daytona when we were talking about how fast the cars. But these cars this year are overall, every brand, much faster than they were last year. That's why we keep setting track records.
Well, last year we came here with the the front splitter, the shovel, and with the rear wing. That T-tray up there on the back.
Yeah.
Now we're back to cars that look more like stock cars and perform more like stock cars, and well, they're faster. That shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, that was the scoop and the dupe then. we fixed it now. Got her looking like a race car.
Yeah, this was the last track left that we had not been to with the conventional rear spoiler. Of course, we were going to Kentucky Motor Speedway for the first time this year with the Cup cars later on.
I wonder what they did with all those wings.
Well, I don't know, because there was a bunch of them owned by NASCAR and owned by the teams.
Right. End plates. Everybody had different end plates and all that. Life's a little simpler now.
It's called inventory.
That's right.
Obsolete inventory.
Kenseth Busch, Newman, Edwards, Biffle, the Fast Five. Next Saturday, the world's toughest trucks slam dance with the Lady in Black. Speeds are fast, mistakes could be disastrous. The Camping World Truck Series is at Darlington next Saturday, 4:30 Eastern, live on Speed.
A few of the Cup boys will be down there, of course, racing for the win only. I know Casey Kane's going to be racing in that race next Saturday night.
I think he's driving Kyle's truck.
I believe you might be right on that.
Yeah, I think he is.
Bobby Labonte got his season started off just great at the Daytona 500. Right now 30th on the speed chart.
And that brings up an interesting thought. Before Kyle got married, don't you imagine he'd be down there driving that truck next Saturday? But
yes.
Sam probably said, why don't we maybe take advantage of our weekend off,
the
and
only off weekend other than Easter,
something together rather than go truck racing.
Don't get many of them. 3 the entire year.
Really don't.
We know Kyle Busch has had a phenomenal career already driving these race cars and race trucks. I think 88 wins now. But we talked about him being from Las Vegas. Obviously a very smart young man. He graduated from Durango High School. He graduated a year early, but he still did it with honors. Graduated in 3 years.
Started his racing career just outside turn 1 at this speedway on the Bull Ring, racing in Legends cars. And it was evident pretty quickly that there was a lot of talent there. There is the control tower for the Bull Ring and the grandstand and that paved short oval where a lot of young drivers have been able to launch their careers. This is quite a facility. There's a 1.5 mile super speedway. There is a world-class drag strip. There is a dirt track, high bank dirt oval, where the World of Outlaws ran on earlier this weekend, and there's a road course and the Bull Ring. It is certainly a multi-purpose racing facility, and hats off to Bruton Smith and the Marcus Smith folks at Speedway Motorsports for giving all kinds of racers a place to come and run.
Yeah, you can have all the talent in the world, but you still have to learn how to race. You have to learn what the procedures are. There's a thing I like to call track presence. You got to know where other cars are. You got to know where you are on the racetrack. There's techniques, but mainly I think it's procedure. You got to learn how to live in the racing world. And when you're a young kid, you know, respecting authority, the officials, playing by the rules, getting along with others, those all come into play when you're a kid learning how to, if you have any intentions of moving up in the sport.
Especially when you watch racing on Sunday and things like getting along with others and here's the rules of procedure. Sometimes not so much.
Well, but one of my favorite things the kids always say is "yeah, but."
Yeah, but.
Yeah, I hate "yeah, buts." Yeah, but he hit me, Daddy.
Travis Kvapil on track for Front Row Motorsports. They've had a pretty good start to this season. David Gilliland, big finish in Daytona, top 5 finish. And Travis, I think just trying to get that car solidly under him for the whole race would be a definite uptick from Daytona and Phoenix.
You know, some of these guys that have gotten off to a little slow start, 2 races, not very far in the season, obviously. But I would make a commitment to myself and my team. I'm going to finish this race. If I got to back up to the rear of the field and ride around here by myself, I'm going to finish this race. Stay out of trouble. That helps build the team.
And as we look at Brad Keselowski in the Miller Lite Dodge, 24th on the board, that brings up an interesting change in NASCAR's inspection procedure, Darrell. Last year we saw a lot of peekaboo. I'm going to the garage. Oh, you're in the garage? I'm going back out and run a few laps. I'm in. Okay, I'll go back out. Because NASCAR inspected the first car to drop out of the race other than for reasons of a crash. And that happened every week. So a lot of cars would go in and out trying to avoid the full teardown and inspection. The new rule is NASCAR will choose a car at random from the top 35 in owner points to inspect, and a car at random from those outside the top 35 to inspect after the race. So it has nothing to do with finishing position anymore. And that little cat and mouse game we saw a lot of last year can cease. Steve.
Mike, just wanted to update you on the 31 of Jeff Burton. He said, I turn really good going into turn 3. The entry into turn 1 is our hang-up right now. I want to fix that without losing what we have. They're going to make a camber adjustment to the right front. They're also going to reverse a shop change they had made earlier this morning.
Well, and as Darrell pointed out, Steve, you know, a while ago when we had the telemetry, we're seeing cars well into a race run still get close or right at or a little above 200 miles an hour getting in that corner.
Turn 1 gives you a problem because of the way you come through the tri-oval here, and then you swing out to the wall just before you enter turn 1. And here's the other thing that turn 1 will do. You've got in your mind, I got to be in the right spot to get across those bumps. So you're going to focus on turn 1 a lot more than you are turn 3 just because of that entry and then the bumps.
No change in the Fast 5. We're about 25 minutes into this final practice for tomorrow's Kobalt Tools 400. Welcome back to NASCAR Sprint Cup final practice presented by Gander Mountain. Pole sitter Matt Kenseth is quickest. When was the last time you saw Matt Kenseth break the track record, set on the pole, and be fastest in practice?
Well, I think I'm correct. I believe he's only won 5 poles in his whole career. 5 poles
in 405 starts.
I mean, when I read that, I said, that can't be right. Maybe I thought maybe we were talking about in Vegas or something, but not in his whole career.
His last pole was May of 2009 at Darlington. And this is his first pole at Las Vegas in 12 starts here.
That car's got to be bad fast because he has been at the top of the board ever since they unloaded.
Got to be. Steve.
Mike, with Kurt Busch, so how's the hometown hero doing on his hometown track?
We're doing okay. Just trying to get her through the bumps better. So our Pennzoil Ultra car did good for the changes we've made. Now we're just going with a different package, see what that does. This is something more of what we ran like at Homestead last year. So just trying to get 2 big projects done and then science out which one we need to race.
Kurt, you've been coming back here for a long time to race. Do you keep the same routine? Do you have people hitting you up for tickets? How do you manage it?
It's busy, you know, and the media is great. Just the sponsor appearances, foundation events have been wonderful this time around. So It gets busier and busier each year. It's just I want to try to drive this Pennzoil Ultra car into victory lane. Then I'll know I accomplished something what I came here to do, and that's to win.
Thanks, Kurt.
All right, thanks, guys.
Had a big go-karting event here in Las Vegas earlier this week to raise money for charity.
You know, we were talking about his starting record here, but never qualifying outside the top 10 till this race here. But he has finished 23rd or worse in the last 4 Vegas races. I read where, as far as our current tracks, his best starting average at any track is here. His worst finishing average at any track is here, as far as the race.
Joey Logano currently 9th quickest. He'll start in the top 10 tomorrow. Dick?
Well, Trevor Bayne has been running about in the 20s, Mike, in terms of serial position and speed on the racetrack, but they're pretty happy with the car. Just talked to Donnie Wingo, who said that the only problems that they're faced with is the car gets a little bit tight when he's going into the corner. Most importantly, he's getting through the bumps well, and he's got a brand new race car here for this event.
Yeah, because this team and Trevor Bayne, they lost 2 fairly fresh race cars at Phoenix last week. One in practice,
I think that was a little better there. I mean, you got the rear out of the track just a tad on exit, but not bad at all. I mean, I was still able to get hard on the gas coming up off, but still sliding that front a little bit there, Donnie, in the center, you know. I think that helped the rotation right there, but we got to get the front end woke up some more. So I think you can leave that for now, and then we'll try to work on that front, and then we'll kind of decide if that was good or.
Pretty good information for a 20-year-old, telling his crew chief what he feels, what he needs, what he thinks.
Well, now, Larry, we got to wake up the front end. What's he mean?
That means that you heard him say that it's still. Let's take a look here. This is Dave Blaney in the 36. I think he's got some waking up to do. He probably got woke up with that little slide right there.
And that's Larry. That's some more of that push loose.
Yeah.
Turn the wheels left hard. The thing bites back in, slides in.
But Trevor was explaining to Donnie Wingo as crew chief, you know, we've got the rear of the car in the racetrack now.
Good.
Leave what I've got there, but my front tires are not really responding to my steering input. So we need to make it more responsive to when I turn the steering wheel.
Another word I heard a guy use that kind of helps explain a little bit. It's numb.
Oh.
The front of the car is numb.
Somebody who'd been to the dentist that week, most likely.
Looks like I had a root canal.
Kevin Harvick coming up to speed.
Look at those speeds. I mean, I don't know what a person at home that's watching this, I don't know if there is any way that you can relate to just how fast you're going headed down this front straight. Look at that speed come up. I mean, that was close to 200 miles an hour getting up to speed, and you're going in to a turn that has very little banking.
Well, if you flew here running these speeds, your airplane probably lifted off the runway at about the speed he exited turn 2.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
Up and away, and away you go. I mean, I hate to say TV doesn't do it justice, but this sense of speed, you get it from some of those fixed on the wall shots, but these cars are just blindingly fast.
Take a look at the throttle here. Now, when that thing's green all the way, that's 100%. Watch what little bit under 100% and how short of a period in 3 and 4 it's not wide open.
Get out right there. Stay out, stay out, stay out. Now hit the gas.
Wow.
Play with it just once, but that's not long at all. And I think it's even less down in turn 1 and 2.
Well, here's the one that you just don't see much use there. Is the old brake pedal.
Right. Steve?
Mike, Greg Biffle starts 4th tomorrow. Here's his input. He said, guys, I think the track is changing a lot. I hate to ask, but if we could put that last setup back on so I can see how it's turning now. So they're going to go back to the setup they had to start practice.
Well, and it looks like that the groove is moving up the racetrack. It's starting to get blacker and blacker, about 2/3 of the way up the track now.
I know, and I know the fans at home are probably saying, yeah, I realize they have bumps in that track. Don't worry, tomorrow they'll go around them. It'll be okay.
Speed Inside Deals, your one-stop shop for exclusive ticket offers for Speed viewers. Purchase ticket packages for Las Vegas and save $30 on a Neon Garage Pass. Visit speed.com/deals today. Speedway officials expect a sellout for tomorrow's race. They do still have some grandstand tickets available. As we look at Tony Stewart, who dressed up one of his race cars as a taxi cab to drive around Las Vegas today, and it wasn't one of the wildest or weirdest things seen on the boulevard this week.
No, it was not.
Not by a long shot.
There we were talking to Tony Spotter this morning, Bob Jeffrey coming up the elevator, and Tony got in a decent qualifying run, 15th. But I think, and we saw it in qualifying, he even scared himself when he got those left side tires down on that apron.
Oh, yeah.
It was big at the speed you're running around here.
Here's Landon Castle and the big red Toyota. And Dale Jr. coming out in the National Guard Chevy.
Is Digger working in the garage today? What's
Kind of looks like it.
keeping a low profile?
42 of the 43 drivers have practiced. J.J. Yaley is the lone car to have not yet been on the racetrack. Coming up to speed. The end of pit road, 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's down on the apron because there's traffic coming, so he's building up to speed. He got to clear the 21 here, go by on the outside. Now he gets up on the racetrack, and watch this thing go down that back straightaway.
Giddy up, go.
That's some acceleration. Look at the RPM climb. Just, I mean, just flying. Things have got some horsepower.
When was the last time you grabbed high gear at 157 miles an hour without lifting your foot off the gas?
There were blue lights involved. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
He hadn't even completed a lap, and he was already at 200 miles an hour getting into turn one.
Yeah.
Right at this speed here. Okay, that speed there. At 170 miles an hour, an Airbus A380, typical airliner, that's takeoff speed, about 170 miles an hour.
Man.
Right about here. Up and away. So this is all in the mail.
What gets me is how these engines have evolved over the years. I mean, we used to look for 8,000 RPM. We thought that was a lot. Now they're looking at almost 10 grand on these things.
With a pushrod engine, pushrod V8. That is incredible.
And a carburetor. A carbureted, normally aspirated pushrod engine turning that kind of RPM. Now that guy right there, the sky's the limit.
Nellis Air Force Base, home of the Thunderbirds, right across the street from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Speed's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup final practice in Las Vegas is brought to you by Toyota. Quickest Toyota on the board, Kyle Busch in second, then Rudem in sixth, Truex seventh, Logano ninth, and Hamlin 10th.
Darrell, you said something earlier about just making sure you're running at the end of this race. When you just think about some of our top-notch teams like Clint Boyer, Jeff Burton, David Rudeman, Joey Logano, you got to believe with what they went through those first two races, that'd be a huge goal for them in race number 3.
Always think about what Bill France used to tell us. The guys last week were talking about, why are they racing so hard? Why are they racing so hard this early? You know, you're in control of your car. You have a gas pedal and a steering wheel. If you don't want to race hard, find you a place where they're not racing hard.
That place would not be right here. Whoa.
Yikes.
Montoya.
Dreaded turn 4. That deals some of these drivers fits.
Down to the garage, and Steve.
Thank you, Mike. Now, Carl Edwards is a crazy person. He jumped off the stratosphere, 855 feet. You flew at the Thunderbirds. Do you not get enough adrenaline in this rocket right here?
This thing is a rocket right now. It's good. I've been having a lot of fun lately. It's been good, and this Easy Seat Fusion's fast right now, and the track is great. The sun's beating down on it. It's getting slick. There's some bumps. You got different grooves coming in, and we're trying some different stuff. We're changing gear right now to Doug Yates makes a lot of power. We're going to see if we can make a little more without singing it too hard, but just excited to be driving this car. It's fast.
Carl, talking to some of the other Ford teams, talking about Doug Yates and that new motor, they're also saying you can run more tape across the front end, which gives you a little more downforce.
Yeah, that's what they say. Bob just took some tape off. I don't know what he's doing. We're trying everything, and the big thing is that engine, that gets you around the racetrack. That's the only thing that makes it go. So Doug Yates and the guys have been doing a great job, and all these Fords are running well right now. We want to keep it that way.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
They got a lot to brag about, because for about a year and a half, the older Ford engine and the first iteration of the FR9 just wasn't up to par with maybe the Toyotas and the Chevrolets. But now it seems that the Ford people are with that new engine right where they want to be.
Well, you give any of these engineers, manufacturers today a clean sheet of paper and tell them, what the parameters are.
Right.
But then they do a lot of research. What is wrong with the current engine that we can improve upon or fix if we were given the opportunity to build a new engine? And cooling was something that they were really focused on, and it's paid off. It paid off at Daytona, pay off everywhere with the additional tape that you can run.
Carl actually left one item off of his schedule. It came about yesterday. He walked in the media center. There was a couple there that had a lot of Carl Edwards apparel on, and he introduced himself, and they said, we're about to get married. Would you be our best man? So Carl went there and stood beside him while they got married yesterday here at the racetrack.
Another thing, no, I don't think so. This is that's he and Bob Osborne. They're looking at the timing and scoring there. But
there's the happy couple.
The couple.
And the groom is taking pictures. Okay.
But Carl said something that I think a lot of drivers, particularly dirt track drivers, they like it when a track has what they call character. A few bumps here. The track's getting slick. Move around. That's what you do on dirt tracks. You get up on the cushion. You ride the cushion. Don't have to be stuck like a bottom feeder on the white line all the time. They want to find that fast groove.
Yeah, at Daytona now, everybody can drive flat out all the way around. This place, not so much. How about 5-time, Steve?
Well, 5 times working on it, Mike. He says right now he seems like the car has a balance issue to it. He said the entry into turn 1 could be freer, and the same with entry into turn 3. Dick Berggren?
Well, Jamie McMurray is making a good bit of progress with his race car. He's 20th on the speed chart right now and is on his way back out to the Speedway where they have adjusted on the back of the car. Their principal effort right now, try to get the car into the corner a little bit better. It's a bit pushy when he enters the turns.
Sounds like he and Jimmy Johnson are fighting almost the same thing. Needed to turn a little better, but don't turn too much getting off into these corners.
I like it to be just a little snug getting in. If I'm going to enter that corner at over 200 miles an hour, I want to be sure I'm nice and tight when I get down there.
Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Ryan Newman lead this final practice session for the Kobalt Tools 400 in Las Vegas. Let's send you now to Adam Alexander for a Speed Center update.
Thanks so much, Mike. You've got the Sprint Cup Series in Vegas. We got NASCAR Nationwide racing from earlier today. And what about Danica Patrick? Best ever finish by a woman in NASCAR, a career best 4th. Brad Keselowski leading on the final lap, hits the wall. He finished 3rd. That opened the door for Mark Martin to win for the 4th time in Vegas. The Rolex Sports Car Series in Miami, Mimo Rojas penalized early in the race for rough driving. His team would battle back. Scott Pruitt now at the wheel, passing Max Angelelli for the lead. He would go on to the win. Chip Ganassi winning for the 5th consecutive time. Last week in Phoenix, Jeff Gordon finally ended his 66-race winless streak. So who else in the Cup garage finds themselves in a similar drought? We've got the answer on Speed Center. And Robbie Gordon placed on probation after an altercation in the garage with Kevin Conway on Friday. Speed.com, your source for all news. Speed Center follows Sprint Cup practice.
Final practice here in Las Vegas. No change in the Fast 5 with Rudeman 6th. Truex, Stewart, Logano, and Hamlin. Jeff Gordon is 21st in this session. And interestingly, every time a reporter comes up to Jeff Gordon and says, hey, you're only 21st. What's going on? Jeff's pat response is, don't worry about it. We're not watching the stopwatch. We're just trying to get the car right. Now, how are those 2 different agendas?
Because you have a driver with the experience of a Jeff Gordon. He knows what that car has to feel like to be good here over the entire race tomorrow. He's not looking at a little short run. He's looking at the big picture. What is this thing going to feel like at the end of a fuel run, halfway through this race? He has that knowledge. He has that experience. That's what he and Alan are working on.
I think I don't know if all the cheers last week were for Jeff Gordon winning or for him having moved Kyle Busch out of the way to win. But either way, I think, Darrell, we're seeing a different Jeff Gordon than we saw last year.
Well, Rick Henry told me on the offseason, he said, you're going to see something out of Jeff Gordon you haven't seen in a long time. Why, Rick? Why would you say that? Because he's mad. Every time they talk about who can win a race, they never mention his name. Who could win a championship? They never mentioned his name. You're talking about a cat with 83 wins and 4 championships, and they never mentioned his name.
They are now.
He's got them. Let's give him something to talk about.
He's been getting his name mentioned a lot, but it's been because he's listed as the owner of the 48 car.
Yeah.
So he wants to have it mentioned as far as the driver in front of it.
Or a day like he had at Sonoma. He was on a lot of people's list after Sonoma, and he knew it too. But that was part of I think that was part of what happened to he and Jeff Burton at Texas last year. That was 2 drivers that had just about had all they could take in their own worlds. They both were so frustrated they hadn't been able to win any races that they just took it out on each other.
Riding with Kyle Busch, second quickest. Speeds have fallen off. They're about half a second off of what they were at the beginning of the session when the track was at its fastest.
Yeah, and probably most of these guys are staying. Most of these drivers are staying on the same set of tires. But you're right, Mike. You know, I think ambient temperature and just track temperature has come up since we started, which takes a little bit of grip away.
We talk about speed. Another thing I think we're finally seeing is Goodyear has finally gotten their arms around this car, and they're building great tires that really complements this race car.
Brian Vickers on the comeback trail. Some folks in the sport thinks he's got a little fence mending to do. He called out Matt Kenseth last week after the 2 of them had a slight brush. Unfortunately, it was Vickers' tire brushing Kenseth's tailpipe. It cut Vickers' tire down and he crashed. He thought Matt ran into him. The video showed otherwise, and I'm not sure if the 2 have spoken since, or if they need to. Let's have a look at it from last week.
Yeah, it's pretty close, but I don't see any blame on Kenseth's part, that's for sure. But you can see their left rear tire was down. That's really what caused him to lose control of the car. What a melee.
Oh, yeah. That was the big one.
A lot of tore up race cars.
But the contact was so slight that had it been in any other location, both drivers just would have driven on.
That turn 2 was a tough spot last week. You bottleneck of it coming up off of 2 into that dog leg back there. You get real bottled up, and a little bit of contact is expected.
Vickers' new teammate Casey Kane in the number 4, 19th quickest.
Had a good run at Phoenix all weekend long. Qualified 3rd and top 10 finished 6th.
I believe he has a lot of potential with that team this year. He and Kenny Francis, his crew chief. I expect them to win a race somewhere in the not too distant future.
Back to Steve.
Hey, Mike, back here amongst the mechanics on the 48 car. Jimmy Johnson's getting ready to jump back in. Jimmy, I'm curious. You have 2 wins here when there was 12 degrees of banking in the corners, 2 wins with 20 degrees. Which do you like better?
I think the track we have now is very racy. A lot of lanes to work with, top, bottom, both ends of the track. So I think they did a great job reconfiguring this track, made it more fan-friendly. We look around, see the fans all over the place. So they did a great job with this racetrack.
Jimmy, heard you say on the radio you need to work on the balance of the car a little bit. Are you making progress?
Yeah, we're learning. We're trying to find some speed. We've got the balance close, but we still need a couple tenths. So when that happens, you go back to the drawing board and work on a new baseline setup, and then try to get some balance from there. So that's what we're doing. We're just trying to find a little bit more raw speed.
Thanks for your time.
Yep, you got it.
That seems to be the one thing that they lack. Every time I used to look at the 48 car, these first 3 tracks we've been to, lack a little speed. They're always a tenth or 2 off of what the pace is.
Get your NASCAR news right from the track with Speed.com. Extensive coverage with video highlights, in-depth stats, expert analysis, driver blogs, and photos. Go to the Speed.com NASCAR section or search keyword NASCAR.
You know, we're focusing, everybody talks about the problems they're having in turn 1. And I'm sure the fans at home are saying, well, they look like they're having a lot of trouble off turn 4 too. The problems in turn 1 are sort of unpredictable. When the car hits those bumps, you don't really know where it's going to land. Coming off 4, you almost expect that back end to step out just a skosh as it exits up off of that corner. So I think the drivers are comfortable with what's happening on 4. They're just having problems trying to anticipate what's going to happen down in 1 and 2.
Good point. Dick Bergman.
Mark Martin is 14th quick. He has told his crew, as did Jeff Gordon, don't worry about the speed. It's the feel that Mark Martin is looking for right now. At the moment, the mechanics are in the process of turning the car back to a setup that they had just a little while back. And interestingly enough, back in 2008, Mark Martin won a NASCAR second-tier division race here with Lance McGrew as his crew chief, and Lance McGrew will be his crew chief tomorrow.
And that's sort of the tale of two tapes. What do we always say about the 48 car? How did they win all those races?
By making the car better at the end of the race than it was at the beginning.
Also because he was always faster than everybody else. So what is he looking for? Speed. Because he knows a fast car is a winning car. Now Mark Martin, on the other hand, he's looking for a car that won't wear him out, that's comfortable to drive, consistent. And that way, when he wants to step it up and get that extra speed, the car will be there for him. So it's two different ways of approaching a race, a long race.
There's a whole bunch of drivers in that garage area will wear out before Mark Martin, though.
I don't know. He's got to run to Saturday and Sunday. It could be a long weekend. You think he can handle it?
Could be a big payday.
But you know, at 52 years old, I doubt there's a driver in the field that has a workout as regimented as Mark Martin.
Well, I saw a guy Friday night that's 71 years old, and I swear I'd like to see him get out there and run. Harry Gant, 71 years old. Of course, everybody remembers Handsome Harry. And he looks like he could wheel a car as easily as anybody out there right now. He's just in such great shape. And
I talked to him this morning. I saw this fella from behind in the media center at a distance of about 40 feet, and his shoulders were about the width of a jack handle.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be Harry Gant. You know, and he's still in great shape. He's ready to go.
He thinks he could do it.
And I think he can. And the stories he tells, that was the golden age right there. Travis Kvapil picking up a little speed. J.J. Yaley has now been on track, so all 43 drivers have run at least a lap of practice. Now, last week, Jeff Gordon broke a 66 race winless streak. Guess who's up this week, whose winless streak stands at 72, and oh, by the way, broke the track record and starts from the pole.
Duh.
That would be the 17 of Matt Kenseth. So if you're looking for streakers, look no further than the pole.
Yeah, remember that year. It was 2 years ago. Matt Kenseth, he won the Daytona 500. Race number 2 was at Auto Club Speedway, then in Fontana. He won that race, came here, was fast, and the engine blew up, and it's almost like the wheel ran off right there.
Oh, the season went right downhill from there. But you're right, and he could have, would have, should have won this race too. He should have gone 3 for 3. Yeah. Well, that magic is back. New daughter in the Kenseth household. So, got a lot to celebrate there.
He's run a total of 32 laps. We're closing in on an hour into this practice, about 12, 15 minutes to go, and he's been out 4 different occasions in that 17 car.
Now, the Biff was top 5 in qualifying and in this practice session. So there's another strong horse for Sunday.
Greg got away for a little R&R between Phoenix and Las Vegas. He loves going out to the sand dunes in his sand buggy. He played around for 2 or 3 days. Always enjoys doing that when we're on back-to-back West Coast races.
One thing about if this thing gets hot and slick and slimy and cars sliding all over the place, put a little money on that 16.
Probably, I wouldn't put a lot of money on the right rear quarter panel, but you can probably put money on the 16 in Greg Biffle.
Yeah, he goes sand buggy racing, and occasionally he convinces some fool from the media to go and ride with him. I've not yet been that fool, nor do I intend to be, because he really gets some air with that thing and has a lot of fun. I've seen the video.
I think David Gilliland went as well, and he actually got, how did he put it? Kinda lost.
Kinda lost.
What they call fools rush in.
So here's the deal. If the team of challengers beats the professionals and completes their restoration in 72 hours and builds the best car first, they get to keep both cars. And if they're not as good as the professionals, according to George Barris and the other judges, they go home with nothing.
Boy.
It's Car Warriors, and it's all new Wednesday, 9 p.m. on Speed. If you like Elcos, you're going to like this episode of Car Warriors.
You mentioned those judges. That's quite the cast of characters, too. They're worth watching the show.
Absolutely. It's like American Idol on wheels.
I like that.
From the ground up.
Yes, I like that.
Yep. An Elco, for those of you head scratching, is an El Camino. And that's what they're working on this week. It's a car, it's a truck, it's a candy bar, it's, whatever. It's cool. And why they stopped making them, I don't understand.
No.
I have an old Ranchero, the Ford version, and gosh, they make them in Australia. They call them Utes, and it's a bench seat, three. Okay, never mind.
Oh boy, here we go, Larry.
Well, if only they'd bring them here. I would show you something. All right, Bergie, take it away.
Okay, Ryan Newman was in the garage a couple minutes ago, Mike, and they changed a rubber in the left rear spring. He's back out on the racetrack and called the car definitely acceptable. For the rest of us, it might be a lot better than that. He qualified in the 8th position yesterday, and right now he is 3rd on the board, having run some 43 laps this afternoon. They're going to make one more change, going to change the rear shocks in it, and that'll wrap up the day for car number 39 and Ryan Newman.
Thanks, Dick.
Yeah, Dick, the only drivers that's run more laps than Ryan Newman, as we look at Tony Gibson and the 39 group on top of the hauler. Mark Martin's run 48, Kyle Busch 47, Ambrose and Burton 45 apiece.
Steve.
And Mike, Jeff Gordon's really struggling in this practice. In fact, he just told Alan Gustafson, I've got no confidence in the back of this race car at all, just 21st in this practice.
Well, they're going to fix it for him, Steve, right here, because I just saw him roll 4 stickers in there to put on that bad boy. That's an instant cure. And that's what you do. You know what? If you're a smart crew chief, I think you want that driver to leave this afternoon, go back to the coach tonight and not worry about that car. So put those tires on there, get him comfortable, and then you can work on the car tonight and in the morning.
This is probably a good time as we watch Robbie Gordon in the 7 car with only about 15 minutes or a little less to go to put 4 fresh tires, fill it up with Sunoco race fuel, put what you think is your best setup package under the car, and let your driver make a long run to end this session.
J.J. Yaley out for his 2nd run with Darlington on the hood of his car. They're trying to sell tickets for next Saturday's truck race. In 2 weeks, we go to Bristol, and there are seats available for the Cup race at Bristol. Ticket packages, and I know all these Speedways ticket offices are open today. So plan yourself a trip to the races and get on the phone.
Based on what we saw at Phoenix, and Bristol is just a little bit smaller version, you might say, of Phoenix. I think we're going to see a barn burner at Bristol this year.
The Jeff Bird 500.
This is going to be a whale of a race. With the way these cars are all running, aggressive these guys are, Bristol's going to be old Bristol all over again.
Can you say, as we've heard many times lately, boys, have at it?
Or call the crew chief and the driver of whatever car to the NASCAR truck.
Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup final practice from Las Vegas, presented by Gander Mountain. Don't be that guy. You're up at Gander Mountain. We live outdoors. And it is a great day to be outdoors here in the Nevada desert just north of Las Vegas. There's the Southern Pride Trucking Fusion. Mike Skinner driving for Frank Stoddard for the 2nd weekend here.
Mike's run a total of 20 laps, and this is a team like in Phoenix last week. They're here to race.
U.S. Chrome backing that team full season. And they got a top 25 finish last week. They're going to do it with a variety of drivers this year. Started the season with Terry Labonte at Daytona, a one-off deal. And tapped Mike Skinner for these next few races, and not sure what their plans are going forward.
You know, we talk about the out-of-bounds line at Daytona and Talladega, but folks at home, just remember, there is no out-of-bounds line here. You can go anywhere where the pavement is, and you're going to see David Reagan here. He's running up on the 38 car. He's going to catch him off of turn 4 right here. Not quite enough room to get by on the track. Goes down on the apron, down below that white line, makes the pass. That's perfectly legal here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's not quite the abrupt transition like it is in the corners from 20 degrees to that apron. Straightaway here is banked about 9 degrees. See, guys, we saw it all during qualifying, drivers going below that line, shortening the racetrack up.
They will use that. They will use the apron here on the front straightaway. A number of these guys will all day long making passes.
That was one of the improvements when they reconfigured the racetrack here, moved pit road back, built that gleaming new building that houses the media center and other functions.
Well, now one more here.
And the neon garage. Here's a look at it. The little oval in the front, using the front straightaway and pit road. That's used for the Legends cars and Bandoleros. And there's that new building. And they raised the infield, cut it, just knocked down everything and started over. And the neon garage, where the folks can stand up on those catwalks, look in the garages, dangle something over the side for a driver to sign. There's nothing else. There's nothing like it in the sport that really gives the fans this kind of up close look at everything that's going on in and outside the garage. Daytona's reconfiguration is kind of similar, but I think this is the standard right here.
Well, look at that, Mike. I mean, look at all those fans standing over. And I remember yesterday when we saw that one kid that had a rope and he was dropping down cards to be signed, die-cast to be signed to the drivers when they go by. Here the fans looking in the window, watching them work on the car. It's an experience. That's one thing I say about Bruton Smith. Does that make the racing any better? I don't think so. Does the improvements on pit road and all the other things, does that make the racing any better? No. You know what it makes better? The racing experience.
Right.
That's what it makes better.
Yeah, we're on the air for 3.5, 4 hours on Sunday on Fox with the race. But these people that are here, they make it a full, long weekend.
And if they can go home and say, I got Jamie McMurray's autograph, or I met Tony Stewart, or I saw his taxi cab drive by on the strip, you know, it's just a whole lot more than just sitting in a grandstand seat and saying, I saw a great race.
They've got a little bandstand out in the middle of that neon garage. There was a band playing out there this morning early.
Yeah, sometimes they have historic race car displays out there and lots of different things for the fans to enjoy. Jeff Burton in the Cat Chevrolet of Richard Childress. He is 22nd fastest in this session. His teammate Paul Menard 16th.
Talked to his crew chief Todd Barrier yesterday, and definitely starting to scratch their head. You know, they seem to have, Jeff has a fast race car, but they've run up against this wall, it seems like. You know, he's had the 2 issues the first 2 races. If you link that with the last 4 races of last year, 6 races he's finished 19th or worse. Todd Barry said we have destroyed 4 race cars in those 6 races.
Wow.
And a lot not of Jeff's doing. Yeah. Wrong place, wrong time.
I go back to what I said earlier. I am going to make a commitment to my team. I'm going to finish this race with this car in one piece, whatever that takes.
Riding with Kyle Busch, who is 2nd fastest to Matt Kenseth in this practice. Going to be about that time when some of these NASCAR home tracks, like Spring, will start opening up for the season. Get out to your local track and see some great racing. Kyle Busch has run the most laps in this session, 55, as you ride with Denny Hamlin around the outside of the neon garage and out toward pit lane to go make a practice run.
Denny Hamlin, another driver, needs something positive to happen. Riding here with Dale Earnhardt Jr. as he goes out on the racetrack. But Denny Hamlin won the race at Texas, 3rd race from the end of the year last year, has not finished in the top 10 since that win at Texas.
Dick Berggren.
Well, David Reagan is heading back out onto the racetrack, Mike. He spun in his qualifying lap yesterday and will start tomorrow in the 42nd position. And when you think about fellas that have had a tough year, certainly his, losing the Daytona 500 when he changed lanes too early, and then last week a DNF crash at Phoenix. Today he has just told the crew the car is a little tight here, a little loose there, and I'm going to quote you on this one, I'm babying it. I bet he is.
Drew Blickensderfer, we talked about Matt Kenseth getting those first 2 wins to start 2009. That's where Drew Blickensderfer was at that point with Matt Kenseth. When they won the 500 in Fontana, California. David's run a total of 49 laps, now 50 laps in this practice.
What's this way over on the left of the screen? Over not in the dashboard, but near the dashboard?
Well, it looks like to me, knowing that who makes them spec, pro gauges, pro part gauges, I believe that's the tack right there.
Oh, okay.
That he can look at right through the steering wheel. I know that's who makes most of these tacks that light up with the lights and all, the spec gauge company.
Looks like it's mounted right on the center of the steering column.
Yeah, it is. It's sitting on top of the steering column. I haven't seen it in a position like that before.
There's Mark Martin's office. Now his tack is set in the dash instead of out on the column.
Yeah, that's more what I would call traditionally the way we mount the tacks in the dash like that. If you notice how Mark, I just love to watch guys drive these cars. And you see how Mark, here's Jimmy Johnson, got that, see how he's laying his right arm on the steering wheel. That gives you a good bit of security, kind of helps control the car. Also keeps you comfortable in the seat. Here's
Von Zipper.
Trevor Bain.
Young Trevor, and
a little different approach.
Kind of got that.
Red flags out. 09's going off 4 here, nice and easy.
Off turn 4, Bill Elliott has gone around.
See any damage?
You know, Darrell, if I didn't know any better with where he's sitting, it's almost like he may have spun trying to come on the pit road.
We may see that a lot here tomorrow.
Yes.
He dropped down off that track.
I think the skid marks may prove you right there, Larry. Let's see. No.
He was just up high through 3 and 4.
Boy, I tell you, these guys have sure been lucky this weekend. That's the third spin we've seen, and nobody's hit anything.
Yes.
I think again, it just tells you how much grip is in the tires and how much downforce these cars have.
You know, Mike, back to the gauge conversation, the biggest thing that gauge will be used for tomorrow, quite honestly, won't have anything to do with reading the RPM. Because of the way those lights are on that spec gauge, that's where they'll monitor their pit road speed. And they'll have that thing set where you've got green, it'll blink, and if it goes into red, that means you're over your pit road speed.
I still don't know why they call them idiot lights. No idea.
You don't?
No. Here's the top 10 in practice, and this track is suddenly a busy place. We're in the final minutes of practice. 27 cars are out on the racetrack. Everybody trying to get one final shot at setup before this practice ends.
Yeah, this one you want to get that last run in. You want to cut it clean. Cut it clean means cut it so the engine tuner can look at the spark plugs, be sure he's got that mixture just right.
Steve?
Mike, Tony Stewart just pulled into the garage. He's been pretty quiet, pretty happy with his practice earlier. He said that the car was just a little bit free on exit at both ends, but all in all, pretty satisfied with his practice.
Thanks, Steve. You saw he's got the tack on the steering column.
Same as, yeah.
Kind of new school of thought there. Maybe.
This is one of only 2 tracks on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series circuit that Tony's not won at. The other one is Darlington in the Sprint Cup.
Man, look at all that.
Mark Martin.
Looks like an airplane dashboard.
What was interesting about those gauges is when this crew member moves away, notice how they've got the green and red stripes on the gauges. That way, Mark does not have to look at anything but making sure that that needle right there is possibly in between those 2 green lines.
I wonder, Larry, if that's 40 whatever 100 that 3800 looks like at second gear. I wonder if this one up here is for first gear.
Look at that.
There you go.
That tells you right there.
All I had to do is look up, right?
And why do they call them idiot lights?
I don't know.
I was focused on the lines.
Yes.
I was waiting for you to tell me, Larry. And why is that one?
Oh, the red and black flags just couldn't have come out too soon, and here they are.
It's a good thing because my driver and I got to go to the front of the truck and talk a little bit.
Well, he put all the lines on my gauges. Why didn't you just tell me you wrote it on the dash? What would you say about those lights again? Just pointing out the obvious, folks.
Jimmy Johnson ends up 15th in this session. And here's Dick.
With David Gilliland, what kind of a race are we going to see tomorrow?
I think it's going to be a great one. I think, you know, this track has got a little more character than it used to have. The bumps are a little worse. So you got guys running up high. You guys got running in the middle and down low, and 1 and 2 especially. And I think it's going to be a great race. I think Goodyear's brought an awesome tire and seems to be wearing really good. And the field is really tight. I was just looking at the times, and it's amazing how tight everybody is. So I think it's going to be a good one. Hopefully, hopefully everybody will see our Taco Bell Ford Fusion up front.
All right, we wish you good luck at it. Thanks, David.
Matt Kenseth wins final practice. He won the pole. He broke the track record. He might just as well win tomorrow, but that fella in second place, Kyle Busch, will probably have a lot to say about it.
Look at those times, though. 39s all the way down to 49 there, Stewart. I mean, that's tight, man. These cars are all pretty equal.
And Darrell, just looking at the last lap that a lot of them turned on the racetrack, and the series average, not seeing it slow down a whole lot even over the course of a long run.
Those are pretty fast times for race times.
9 drivers ran 50 laps or more in this session, led by Kyle Busch with 61.
All the way back to Robbie Gordon in 33rd there, that the cars are all in the 29-second bracket. It just tells you how grouped them up and how tight they are and why they race so hard.
Jamie Mack debriefing. Speed Center comes up next. And don't forget, tomorrow, race day, then the Kobalt Tools 400 on Fox, and Victory Lane right back here on Speed. Fox and Speed have you covered for all your NASCAR this weekend. Nationwide highlights coming up on Speed Center next. Thanks for watching Sprint Cup Final Practice presented by Gander Mountain.